As many of you know, my name's Tom Sheehy. As headmaster here, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all this evening to our inaugural Athletic Hall of Fame dinner. And at this time, it's my pleasure to invite our acting chaplain, Deacon Frank Bice, class of 1977, to start our evening with a blessing. Frank?
Thanks, Coach. Before I start the blessing, I just want to thank the greatest coach I ever had in my life, Coach Tom Sheehy. Coach Sheehy and I met in the fall of 1973 up at Cranwell School up in Lenox, Massachusetts. And I was the smallest kid in the school, 4'11", 95 pounds. And I went out for JV basketball, and Coach Sheehy, I thought I was going to be the water boy, but Coach Sheehy made me his starting point guard. And in lacrosse, Coach put me in attack. And like Mr. Dwyer, I grew up playing lacrosse in Manhasset. And when Coach, the difference between playing lacrosse on Long Island and up here was, there's a much more physical game up here. And so when Coach Sheehy used to put me in at, 4'11", 95 pounds, I used to get killed most of the time. But one game, I'll tell you about this one game. If varsity had a game and JV didn't have a game, we'd all suit up. And we were playing, it was a varsity game, and we were playing against a weaker team. And Coach said, he pointed at me and said, "You're in." And I said, "Who, me?" And so I ran out there, and it was a fluke. I wound up having a hat trick in the first half. And believe me, I was never a goal scorer, but it was a real fluke. And at halftime, we're all sitting around drinking water, eating oranges, and Coach Sheehy is pacing back and forth in front of all of us, and we thought we were in trouble. And all of a sudden, Coach grabbed me by my jersey, lifted me up over his head, and started saying, "Yeah, this kid is hungry. You see the way he went to the cage?" And I will tell you honestly, as a young athlete, that moment changed my life, because the man I respected more than anyone else in the world was praising me in front of my teammates. And that's the gift, I'd say, that Coach Sheehy gave me. And he had a beautiful, beautiful wife on the sidelines, Betsy, who, even to this day, she's sunshine. But I just want to say thank you, Coach, for all you did for me. And I also want to thank Lindsay Mulhern for being the one who initiated this Sports Hall of Fame, which is so important. Doug Familetti, a star in hockey and lacrosse here, captain of the hockey team at Hamilton College, was a star in lacrosse there too. And I'd like to thank all of you. Our founding headmaster, Nelson Unum, who's being inducted tonight, the phrase he chose for this school was to contend earnestly to the faith once delivered to the saints. And how do we put that faith into action? I think the best way we do it is on the athletic field, the court, the mat, the rink, or in the pool, or whatever. When you put your heart and soul on the line, and so many of my heroes are being inducted tonight. Charlie Huntington, who, when I was a student here, his license plate said rink. And he, on his own, raised all the dough to build a hockey rink, and then we became one of the most storied programs in the country. And Coach Carpo, who used to scream, "Bice!" You could hear him screaming my name across the entire campus. After becoming a legendary coach at TP, came over here and did the same thing here. And Bill Dalton, the '66 swim team coach. But so many of my heroes, and I want to mention John Aber, who's not being inducted tonight, another hero. But all right, so let us pray. Dear Lord, we ask you to just accept our gratitude tonight, Lord, for blessing us, and help us to realize, Lord, how lucky we are to have had this experience, and please bless all of these great athletes who really, put their faith on the line. They contended earnestly, and they really fulfilled the inspiration you gave them, Lord. So we thank you for that, and we ask all these things through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Talking about Frank as one of my players, desperate time called for desperate measures, but No, it was a great honor to be able to coach young men in those days, like Frank. Again, I want to just thank you all for coming, and I'd like to take a moment just to mention a few special guests that are with us tonight. Trustee Jim Briggs and his wife, Mary Lou. Jim? Jim also, after graduating from Williams, came back and became a storied coach here. And Jules and Aline Vio and Francis A. Bear. So we're glad to have them with us. And also point out John Gaffney, class of 1990, and Trish Rasmussen, class of 92, who are members of the Society of Alumni Executive Committee. So we're glad to have them with us, and of course, Patricia is also one of our inductees this evening. So thank you for being here. Thank you for this wonderful evening and wonderful opportunity to recognize those athletes and those teams and those coaches who have meant so much throughout the history of the school. I have one more order of business, and that is because we have a full program tonight, and by my reckoning, Frank took up half of that time. In the interest of time, please continue to eat and enjoy as we move through the inductions this evening. Now, there's been much anticipation leading up to this event, 100 years, you could say, and this inaugural class of inductees represents the finest athletes and coaches of Canterbury's first 100 years, and indeed, you are all legendary. We cannot talk about the history of Canterbury School without mentioning the role of athletics. In his founding vision for the school 100 years ago, Dr. Nelson Hume placed great importance on an athletic program. He avidly believed that being active and outdoors was fundamental to developing well-rounded, disciplined, and healthy young people. And in this, Canterbury has never wavered. In my 26 years as headmaster, I've been inspired by the tales of those who have left an indelible mark on our athletic program. Every day, we strive to put forth a winning program like that of coaches Brody, Huntington, and Carpo. We work to motivate our athletes with the same skill, care, and intuition that they possess. The success of our individual athletes during their time at Canterbury and beyond is a tremendous source of encouragement for our current students. You're exceptional role models to them as they balance the rigors of academics and athletics. The achievements of our teams, not only in competition, but in camaraderie, commitment, and sportsmanship, continue to impart valuable lessons of life for all of us. Again, you are all legendary within our community, and we honor you tonight, as well as each and every day of our school. Our tribute would not be complete without mention of the parents, family, and friends of our inductees. Just as you stand by them in celebration this evening, you stood by them with the same love and support years ago, and that made all the difference and helped make their achievements possible. Again, thank you to everyone for joining us this evening, and we look forward to your continuing support. 100 years is a lot of time to cover, and we will do our best. As a school, and especially, you have set a standard for all to aspire as they have in the past and will in the future. And at this time, I'm delighted to begin our induction ceremony, and we will begin with our esteemed Dr. Nelson Hume. Canterbury's founder and headmaster for 33 years, Nelson Hume was a staunch supporter of, quote, sports for all, end quote, policy. He felt that being outdoors was therapeutic and blamed any illness in the school on the fact that the boys had not been able to spend as much time outside as he would have liked. And although he had brought soccer to the Hume School in New Rochelle, he could see that the new Canterbury School could not, in its first years, support two sports in any season. So he selected nine-man football as the fall sport, ice hockey as the winter sport, and baseball as the spring sport. And I'm convinced that he was more concerned with hockey in the winter, because if you ever remember the old gym, which Jules Vio coached in, it's undersized. So he didn't really care what happened on the basketball court, but he wanted to make sure we had good ice. What saved Canterbury in any winter was that hockey season. Hockey was his great love, and he personally coached the team. During the early years, the players used a natural pond on the Pell property north of the school. In the fall of 1919, construction began on the new outdoor hockey rink, and track becoming the first athletic facility Nelson sponsored. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Dr. Nelson Hume to our Athletic Hall of Fame posthumously. So let's hear a hand for Dr. Hume. Philip H. Brody. Phil Brody served as Canterbury's first Director of Athletics, as well as the football, basketball, swimming, and baseball coach over a 35-year career. He was awarded a Canterbury Medal in 1995. His portrait graces the Brody Room in the Alumni Gymnasium, and the Brody Award for Exceptional Achievement and all-around service to school is given at each graduation. Phil was known as an exceptional coach during his reign at Canterbury, with his most notable work coming in the pool. The members of the swim team were known as Brody Men, and their legacy of success under Phil stretched across generations, including the 1934 undefeated swim team that captured the state championship at Trinity. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Phil H. Brody into our Athletic Hall of Fame posthumously. Charles H. Huntington. Charlie arrived at Canterbury in 1969 and served for 30 years. Charlie coached soccer, hockey, and baseball, and was the athletic director from 1971 to 1981, and 1986 to 1988. He was the boys' varsity hockey coach from 1972 to 1973, and under his guidance, the program went 303 wins, 146 losses, and 25 ties, which is a winning percentage of 640. He was the force behind the building of the hockey rink and developed Canterbury's first hockey program. And I might add, my daughter, Molly, was on that team. Charlie finished his coaching career working with the girls' hockey team from 93 to 99. He was also the founder of the New Milford Youth Hockey and Soccer programs. Former Canterbury student and player Jacques Joubert, class of '90, said, he not only helped several hockey players go on to have a great collegiate and professional careers, he also helped them become better people. I might also add that he was the first, I believe, the first lacrosse coach at Canterbury, and I'd like to say it was my honor, but in 1974 and 1975, I brought the Cranwell lacrosse teams down to face Canterbury and Charlie. Needless to say, we lost both of those games to a formidable Canterbury team, but my rationalization was always that coming down from the north, from Lenox, Massachusetts, it was our first time in both games on a full field since we still had snow on the ground up in Lenox. At any rate, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Charlie Huntington into our Athletic Hall of Fame. And we are joined tonight by Charlie's wife, Janet, and son, Chris, class of '83. And it's my pleasure to ask them to come forward at this time to accept the award on Charlie's behalf. Janet and Chris. Jack Carpo. Under Jack's fine coaching, the 1980 Canterbury football team enjoyed its most successful season in 21 years, ending the campaign with a perfect record of 8 wins, 0 losses, and 0 ties. In that year, The squad amassed 4 shutouts and outscored its opponents 162-56. The highlight of the season was a 7-0 victory over Wyoming Seminary, the first defeat in 5 years for that school. I might add that this year, next week or the week after, we will be playing Wyoming Seminary at Wyoming Seminary. So, heads up, Seminary, here we come. Jack was already a legend before arriving at Canterbury and was posthumous inductee into the Trinity Pauling, you know, those guys on the other side of the hill, Athletic Hall of Fame, having coached the football, basketball, and baseball teams to numerous undefeated and championship teams. He was a graduate of Clark University where he captained baseball and basketball. Jack also boasted a year of professional baseball in the St. Louis Cardinals farm system. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury inducts Jack Carpo into our Athletics Hall of Fame posthumously. Thank you for your attention to these awards, and this includes our first segment of inductions. We're going to take a short break at this time, and dinner will be served in a few minutes. We'll resume our program shortly. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce 2 key members of the Hall of Fame committee, and I would say they really initiated this program, this idea. And first of all, I'd like to introduce Lindsay Mulhern. Prior to her arrival at Canterbury 3 years ago, Lindsay spent 12 years teaching in independent schools, including Groton and the Hill School. At Canterbury, she teaches English, serves as our Director of Residential Life, and has chaired our Hall of Fame committee. She has spent 15 years coaching girls lacrosse of all ages, and notes that her 2 world championships with the United States U19 teams are her biggest coaching honor. She played lacrosse at James Madison University, where she was a 2-time captain and all-conference player. Lindsay resides in South House with her husband Matt, who's a class of '95 and played hockey at BC, and Canterbury's Director of Admission, and their 4 sons. And Doug Familetti. Doug, class of 1990, is the President and Chief Investment Officer at Griffin Asset Management, an employee-owned New York City-based firm managing $400 million. Doug earned a BA in economics from Hamilton College, where he was captain of the hockey team and a member of the lacrosse team. Doug is also a current Canterbury trustee. I would like to add that I've known Doug and his family for over almost 30 years, and I had the privilege of coaching his brother Brian in the North Shore Youth Lacrosse how many years ago? And I'm as old as dirt, so that gives you an idea. At any rate, it's my privilege to introduce Lindsay and Doug.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's truly an honor to be with you for this very special moment in Canterbury history, and I hope I have the opportunity to speak with all of you before the evening's over. The decision to launch an Athletics Hall of Fame began in the summer of 2004. A call for nominations was put forth, and to our elated surprise, we received over 100 nominations from alumni, parents, faculty, and friends of the school. And here we are. Each of you, our esteemed inaugural class, are among the finest representations of Saints athletics in our first 100 years. As Tom said earlier, you are indeed legendary. Now, it is our pleasure to proceed with the inductions of individual athletes. Bernard H. Ritter Jr., class of 1934. At Canterbury, Bernie Ritter competed in hockey, golf, baseball, tennis, football, and field hockey. But his lasting fame came on the squash courts. At an imposing 6 foot 5 inches, he was the 2-time Canterbury school champion, and in college became known as the Princeton Bomber. With a mammoth forehand and blinding serve, Bernie captained the elite Princeton team and was twice runner-up in the National Intercollegiate Squash Championships. Professionally, he served as publisher of 4 family-owned newspapers in Duluth and St. Paul, taking Ritter Publications public in 1969. As president and CEO, he presided over the merger with Knight Newspapers in 1974. Bernie was an avid golfer and served on the executive committee of the U.S. Golf Association. His continued enthusiasm for sports led to Ritter Newspapers' one-third ownership of the Minnesota Vikings football franchise, where he served as chairman of the board for 16 years. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Bernard H. Ritter Jr. into our Athletic Hall of Fame posthumously. Anthony B. Cudahy, 1943. Tony Cudahy was arguably the greatest all-round Canterbury athlete of the school's early history. He earned 14 varsity letters in football, ice hockey, swimming, and baseball, at a time when Nelson Hume only gave 2 to 3 varsity letters per season. As a 3-sport captain in football, hockey, and baseball, Tony's legacy and excellence extended across forms. For decades, Tony was known as the King of the Hill, dominating the winter season when he would be missing from the ice to swim his coveted 50 free. Described at the 10th homecoming game by the old-timers as, quote, the greatest of all the Canterbury football greats, he was touted for years after graduation. A quote from a 1942 tabard says it all. Quote, Tony was the human dynamo and spearhead who dominated both the offense and defensive play of the 11, the man who made 3/4 of the tackles and 1/2 of the yardage. Tony made 7 touchdowns and kicked extra points for a season total of 43 points. After graduation, Tony deferred Yale, enlisted, and was stationed in a training unit near Miami University of Ohio, where he starred in football. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Anthony B. Cudahy into our Athletics Hall of Fame posthumously. It was my great honor tonight to meet Tony's daughters, Nina Cudahy and Tasman Resor, and it's my pleasure to ask them to come forward at this time to accept the award on their father's behalf. Lee F. Comfort, class of 1962. Lee's sporting resume reached far and wide. He earned 8 varsity letters in football, basketball, baseball, and tennis. During his 3-year varsity reign, the football team was an impressive 14-2-2. Lee scored 20 touchdowns in 3 seasons, at least a touchdown a game for 3 years. Known for his blazing speed and dazzling sidesteps out of the backfield, his touchdowns were often called comforting. The 1962 Tabor graduation issue saw fit to state, quote, Lee Comfort, perhaps the finest athlete in the school, for 3 years led the team with spectacular football, unquote. Lee was also a starting guard on the 1962 basketball team, noted by Coach Bob Ray as the strongest squad he'd ever coached. After graduation, Lee enrolled at Williams College, where he lettered in football. During the 1964 season, Williams recorded a record of 7-1 record, with Lee starring at wingback. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Lee V. Comfort into our Athletics Hall of Fame. William J. Gilbane, Jr., class of 1965. Bill epitomized the definition of a Canterbury athlete. Awarded Best All-Around Athlete at the 1965 Parent Center, Bill participated on 4 different teams during his tenure. A 2-way player on the football team, captain of the hockey, and a letter winner in golf and baseball, Bill was a true saint. After graduation from Canterbury, Bill went on to play Division I hockey for 3 years at Brown University, recording a combined 49-26 and 4 record over that span. A featured Athletes of the Month profile in the Tabard colorfully describes Bill's hockey prowess. Quote, When the Kent hockey coach was asked how to stop Billy Gilbane when he's on the ice, the disheartened mentor remarked, quote, "The only way you can stop that boy is to lock him in the locker room," unquote. Billy had scored 4 goals, and his varsity hockey team had destroyed Kent for the second year in succession. The Providence Flash, who was born with skates on and who grew up in a hockey atmosphere, is so versatile that he has played every position par excellence except for goalie in the 2 years he has been at Canterbury. A great competitor and a picture of bruising grace while he's on the ice, Bill was always the first to the puck and always seemed to come up with an inspiring play. Probably the best hockey player to don a Canterbury uniform in a decade, Billy Gilbane was giving Canterbury some of its finest and most exciting moments in sports, unquote. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts William J. Gilbane Jr. into our Athletics Hall of Fame.
There's some people here that don't want me to say anything. Well, you know, first off, this is so unexpected, and it's humbling, and I'm very honored tonight. You know, the memories that come back, and I can think of my father and my uncle and my mother and my aunt dropping my cousins Tom, Bob, and I off at this school and thinking they were abandoning us. It was a very, very lonesome and sad feeling. And today I just know how lucky it was that that happened for all of us. You know, in the last 50 years for the Gilbanes, it's been wonderful. And as I walk around this great school, I just see some wonderful things that have happened here. It's spectacular. It really is spectacular. And you know, today's game was a disappointment. I have to say that. I hate to lose at anything. Through this process, my teammates and my classmates have sent me some wonderful notes, and they're so important to me. And 2 of my greatest teammates, well, they were horrible players, but they're wonderful people, and they're here tonight, George Haley and Robert Constantine. I'd like everyone to give them a little round of applause. And my final thought is every time I come to Canterbury, I see Coach Jim Briggs. And, you know, when you play baseball, you fail more than you succeed. If you get a hit 2 out of 5 times, you're doing good. I never felt that I failed once when I played for Coach Briggs. And you know, Coach, in my business, I let everyone feel what you made me feel. They never fail. And it was those values that you taught me that have helped me be successful in my business. So, Canterbury, I thank you very, very much from the whole Gilbane family. God bless.
Thank you, Bill. F. Gordon Lawson, class of 1968. The following passage was recorded in the tabard. Quote, "When Francis Gordon Lawson arrived at Canterbury 3 years ago, wrestling was non-existent. The absence didn't bother Gordy as much as the startling discovery that no one was willing to go out of their way to start the sport. Nobody, that is, but F. Gordon Lawson. By his sophomore year, Gordon had stirred up enough notice for the, quote, manly art that he was able to secure a team and some second-hand mats to launch Canterbury's first grappling endeavor, unquote. Gordon's name is synonymous with Canterbury wrestling, founding the program and leading the sport to varsity status with 27 students recruited from scratch. He went on to become an early coach, 3-time captain, and a competitive juggernaut with an incredible undefeated career of 16-0-1. As the Tabard reported, Gordon's classmate, Mike Messerall, defined his legacy, quote, as much as any student was ever the heart and soul of his sport at Canterbury, it was Gordy and Saints wrestling, unquote. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts F. Gordon Lawson into our Athletics Hall of Fame posthumously. And now it's my pleasure to turn the mic over to my cohort, Doug Familetti.
Good evening, everybody. Before I start, I just wanted to say that it's an honor not only to have been on this committee with one other alum, as well as a number of the faculty and people that were involved in selecting this first class, which you could imagine was not easy. There's so many great athletes in the history of this school, so many great coaches, and more teams you could imagine that were undefeated New England champs and have done so many great things. So everybody should be honored with this to be selected in this first year. There's going to be a lot more to come over the next however many years, and a lot more inductions. And so with that, we're going to move on to the next person, which is Matthew P. Dwyer, 1971. Much as Lawson was to wrestling, so was Matt Dwyer to lacrosse, convincing Headmaster Sheehan to formally start a program. This is from a 1971 Tabard. This spring, Canterbury has begun its first varsity lacrosse season. The names Matt Dwyer and Mike Wellen should send a chill up the spine of the most fearless opposition. Canterbury is aided very much this year by these two fine captains. Both are more than proficient in their skills and leadership. Matt, as leader of the attack, is far the higher scorer. Good work. A Manhattan, Long Island native, Matt has been involved in lacrosse since childhood as a player, coach, administrator, and nonprofit board member. The Boston Globe has called him Greater Boston's Pied Piper of lacrosse. A 4-year starter at Dartmouth College, Matt's love for the game has made him a pioneer in the sport. He coached at Phillips Exeter Academy and founded Weston Youth Lacrosse, of which he remains an active board member. In addition, Matt founded the Massachusetts Bay Youth Lacrosse League in 1993, which included girls in 1995. In 2011, approximately 920 teams comprise the Massachusetts Bay Youth Lacrosse League. Incredible. Formerly the chair of the board at Metro Lacrosse, Matt remains an active board member of this education-based lacrosse organization, which provides free equipment and guidance to 750 children in the Boston area. Matt hasn't just grown the sport of lacrosse for the youth of Boston. He is the founder and current president of the Boston Cannons, the 2011 Major League Lacrosse Championship team. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Matthew P. Dwyer Jr. into our Athletics Hall of Fame.
I've been known to like a microphone. I'll try to control myself. First, just as Bill did, I can't express my gratitude enough and how shocked and humbled I am by this award. I'll also add parenthetically that I think maybe the entire Gilbane family should have been inducted as a whole team. One quick anecdote, Bill's nephew JJ actually, although not a Canterbury alum, did play for the Boston Cannons. And I will also add that Bill would have been a 4-year player at Brown had Brown had a varsity, had they not made freshmen play freshman ball hockey back in those days. Anyhow, enough about Bill. I'll also say there's no way the dining hall could have produced a meal like this when we were here. Not a chance. My gratitude goes out to the culinary staff here at the school. Next, I would be totally remiss if I did not acknowledge the 25 years of incredibly dedicated service that has resulted in so many amazing accomplishments, achievements that the Sheehy's, Betsy and Tom have devoted to this school. It's really an incredible run, and you've been an amazing couple, both of you, for Canterbury. I'd also have to acknowledge a fellow inductee, not have to, I'm privileged to acknowledge Coach Charlie Huntington. Coach Huntington coached me in both hockey and lacrosse, and were it not for his arrival here in 1969, I dare say there's no chance we would have had lacrosse. Fortunately, he was a Williams man like Mr. Sheehan, and although Mike Whalen and I, who was mentioned earlier by Doug, had been pushing for some time for a lacrosse program, I think it was Coach Huntington's arrival and his Williams pedigree that enabled it to happen. So Chris and Francina, he was a terrific guy, and I think about him often. What else do I have to say? I need to obviously thank Lindsay and Doug for their hard work. I think we all, owe them a deep debt of gratitude as well. And I will say that in closing, remarkably, that sports are often referred to as a metaphor for life. A metaphor for life. But I dare say that sports, I keep trying to say lacrosse, but it really is all team sports, are more than a metaphor for life. They are life. They teach us so much about ourselves, about other people. They teach us things like resilience, initiative, perseverance, fitness, and it just goes on. The list goes on. It's just, it's not a metaphor. It is life, and it is not just an extension of an academic program. It is an integral part of an academic program, and that is what makes places like this so special, especially by virtue of the fact that faculty are the coaches. They're not phys ed majors, I don't mean to denigrate phys ed majors, sorry, but they're people who are educators first and athletes second. And they use the playing fields, the rinks, the pools, and so forth as their classrooms, and for that we are all eternally grateful. So with that, I guess I will wrap, and I don't know how many other Long Islanders are out there besides Frank and I, and most of this table is folks, because I even married a Garden City girl. So, but if you're here, move to Boston. It's a better place. See you.
Thank you, Matt. I'm from Long Island as well, and when you're from Long Island, it's hard to know that there's any other sport besides lacrosse. Luckily, I figured out that hockey was a close competitor as far as a great contact sport where I could whack people in the shins and sometimes dig my skate blade into their ankle, but I don't do that anymore. So, moving on. The next inductee, Gerald V. Vanas, 1978. Incredible cross-country runner. Those are my words. While at Canterbury, Jerry ran varsity cross-country all 4 years and was the co-captain in his 6th form. He played varsity hockey for 3 years and ran varsity track all 4 years, being named tri-captain in his 6th form. Jerry played a pivotal role in the 40-0 win streak for the Saints Harriers, culminating in consecutive New England Class B cross-country championships in 1975 and 1976. Varsity track had great back-to-back seasons in 1976 and 1977, where Jerry, in an undefeated season, broke both the school 1 and 2 mile records. In 1977, Jerry led the cross-country team to a second-place finish in the New England Class A cross-country championships. After graduation, Jerry attended the University of Connecticut, where his running prowess was further cultivated and honed in cross-country and track. He was named co-captain of the cross-country team in 1981, where he placed 4th at the New England's and 9th at the District 1 race. With the fastest time for a Yukon runner at this point, Jerry led the team to a second-place finish in the Providence TAC, 2nd in the New England's, 3rd in the District 1 NCAA race, and 27th at the NCAA championships in Wichita. A native of New Milford, Connecticut, he would grace the annual 8-miler with his presence coming in 1st in 1982, 1984, and 1986. He ventured out of New Milford when the Boston Marathon called in 1984, and incredibly took 2nd place by a little over 4 minutes behind the 1st place finisher with a stunning time. This is incredible, 2:14:49. He further pursued... No joke, I ran a half marathon once at almost the same time. It's fast. He further pursued his passion by running professionally all over the world with Team Adidas. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Gerald F. Vanas into our Athletics Hall of Fame.
You know, when people ask me how far behind the winner at Boston I was, I usually go, 4 minutes. He was a good runner, that Jeff Smith, who won that race. I'd like to begin also by thanking Doug and Lindsay, but also extend out to David Wilson, the athletic director here at Canterbury, and the entire Hall of Fame committee for their research, their groundwork, and their diligence to create this inaugural Hall of Fame class here at Canterbury. And also to the Advancement Committee and the Food Service, I know they've been mentioned, but also to the Food Service for this great meal and wonderful ceremony. And to Tom and Betsy Sheehy, congratulations, and thank you for your 26 years of school leadership. As a faculty child, from the day I was born, for the next 30 years, Canterbury was the center of my and my family's universe. More than any other place, we loved the Canterbury campus and the people who were fortunate enough to call Canterbury their school and their home. And to all of the Hall of Fame inductees, congratulations to you and all of your families, and for all of your accomplishments. I'm joined tonight by my lovely wife, Kelly, of 25 years. My daughter, Nikki, was a budding cross-country and track star herself. My daughter, Camille, could not be here tonight. She's in her 2nd year of musical theater at NYU. My sister, Nicole. My brother, Mark, who loved Canterbury so much he never left, and he's been here for 39 years. My brother-in-law, Kevin, and also great friend. And his brother, Sean, who was a 4-year classmate and teammate on the cross-country and track teams. And a surprise tonight, my godmother, Mrs. Frances Hebert. I wish my parents could have been here. I'm sure they are in spirit. My father, also named Jerry, taught and coached at Canterbury for 30 years. And he would have gotten a great kick out of tonight's ceremony. But tonight I'm in a unique position to acknowledge and offer a debt of gratitude to the man who was most influential for my early running success and for creating a platform which would serve as the foundation for my collegiate and professional running. Walter Burke. Walter created a program for cross country and track that exuded pride, class, and excellence. Walter started the program in the early 1970s. It was his passion and his commitment that attracted student athletes who were authentic runners. They were talented, hardworking, and best of all, they were cool. Starting with the late Charlie Torpy and my first captains, Harmon Motes, Jack Hale, and Mal Clary. All of these runners had a positive influence on me at a young 13 years old. And top flight teammates like David Keating, Brendan Skislock, and Kevin Burke. And of course, the Chris's, Chris Adams and Chris Omolchenko, who is also sitting at the table. These are two runners that would never give an inch in any race and provided the best internal competitions on the team and in training sessions. During preseason my senior year, Chris Omolchenko and I logged 133 miles in 1 week. 125 of those miles were in the first 6 days, but then classes started on the 7th day, and we only ran once, 8 miles. And in that 12-meet cross-country season, we finished first and second as a combination for the entire season, right to the New England Class A Championships. I have a bag. Cal, I have a bag. I brought a couple of artifacts because I think these little artifacts will demonstrate just how much Canterbury, the school, the community, and of course the cross-country and track teams have meant to me over all of the years. You may not be able to see this, but this is my earliest rendition of a logbook from running. This is September of 1974, where I thought running long was a 2-mile run. So on September 4th, 5th, and 6th, I ran 2 miles a day getting ready for preseason. With Walter Burke's guidance, on September 11th, 14.2 miles. And I never wore this after 1978, but this was my uniform my senior year. I don't think it would have been too cool to wear this around college, but I saved my uniform. I'm sorry if I need to return it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Jerry. I know for most of us to run 26.2 miles is hard to imagine. I know for me it is. The longest I did was that half marathon. It's amazing when somebody can not only run that far, but that fast. So we're going to move on to the next person. 1985, Marcia A. Simpson. Committed, intense, and energetic. Marcia was a star at Canterbury. Captain of the soccer, basketball, and track and field teams, Marcia earned 12 letters in her 4 years at Canterbury. Awarded the best all-around athlete at graduation, Marcia dominated the fields and court-setting records in the shot put and discus while competing in the 100 and 400-yard dashes. Marcia was awarded the Dr. Nelson Hume Award, given at graduation to the sixth former who best embodies the ideals of the founding headmaster. After matriculating to Princeton University, Marcia continued to excel in all areas of her life while successfully competing on the Tigers track and field team. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Marcia A. Simpson into our Athletics Hall of Fame posthumously. Next person, I can actually say that I played with somebody that is going into the Hall of Fame, which is great. There's actually a few people that are here tonight that I was in school with, but Mike F. Dunham was class of 1990, my class, and was an amazing athlete, not just a hockey player. He's known for being an NHL hockey player and a 3-time U.S. Olympian, but he was more than that while at Canterbury. Mike was unquestionably the most illustrious sports resume of any Canterbury graduate. During his time at Canterbury, Mike lettered in soccer, hockey, tennis, and baseball. Captaining the 11-5 soccer team his junior year. As a first-team All-New England goalie for Canterbury in hockey, Mike was recruited by and started at the University of Maine for 3 seasons, 1990 to 1993. Where he led the team to the 92-93 NCAA Division I championships with a 21-1-1 record. It's incredible. And 2.65 goals against average in 25 games. Mike finished his collegiate career with a 41-6-3 record and a 2.72 goals against average in 55 games, and was a 2010 University of Maine Hall of Fame inductee. His decorated career then spanned 13 professional seasons in both the NHL and the American Hockey League, including a Calder Cup championship with the Albany River Rats AHL in 1995. During that championship run, Mike was co-winner of the Jack A. Butterfield Trophy as MVP of the Calder Cup playoffs. Over the next 3 seasons, he posted a 53-20-12 record, including a professional best 30 wins in the 1995-1996 season. Mike won the Harry Hap Holmes Memorial Award for Outstanding Team Goaltending on the way to the Calder Cup Championship. Mike made his NHL debut with the New Jersey Devils, and I will say that part of his bad luck was that he backed up Mike Brodeur, but he did play for the Devils for a while. In 1996, and played 394 NHL games over the next 10 seasons with Atlanta, Nashville, New Jersey, the New York Islanders, and the New York Rangers. He finished his career with a 141, 178, and 44 record. This is a great stat. A 2.74 goals against average in the NHL and a 91% save percentage in the NHL. He was also drafted as the #1 overall expansion draft pick by the Nashville Predators in the late 90s. This is my favorite part. Mike also represented the United States on 3 separate Olympic teams, including the silver medal winning 2002 team. Mike is currently in his 7th season as the goalie coach for the New York Islanders. And unfortunately, they have a game in St. Louis tonight, and so he apologizes but couldn't make tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to honor him in person at a later date. It is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Michael F. Dunham into our Athletics Hall of Fame. We're going to move on to our last individual induction tonight. Class of 2003, Lily M. Burtz. Lily galvanized a new sport for women during her Canterbury career, dominating her signature pole vaulting event while breaking school and state high school records along the way against boys. Among her achievements at Canterbury, Lily was a 3-time New England pole vault champion in 2002 and 2003 with an 11-foot 3-inch record that held until 2009, and a 2-time New England Junior Olympic champion. Her sprinting prowess brought 3 New England place winner titles in the 100 and 200 meter dash, and her 27.62 in the 200 still holds 12 years later. Not surprisingly, Lily was a 3-time track and field MVP. Lily was also a 4-year member of the varsity soccer team, including the 2002 7-1-1 Western New England School champion. Lily was a Ted Alex Sportsmanship Award winner. She was recruited by Dartmouth and continued to earn awards as a valuable athlete during college, competing in England as well as many Ivy League championships. She took 2nd place in an Ivy League competition at the Armory in New York City. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts Lily M. Burtz into our Athletics Hall of Fame.
Thank you, and it's such an honor to be here tonight celebrating this very exciting event. Thank you for having us. Before I get started, I think I'd be remiss to not mention that I just got married 2 weeks ago. There's more. To a fellow Canterbury classmate of mine, Tim O'Connor. Little known fact, Tim was MVP of the Thirds basketball team here at Canterbury. And he also beat me out as class vice president, so I'll never let him put that down. So I thank Canterbury for not only giving me an outstanding education and athletic experience, but also for an incredible husband. So believe it or not, there's a sport out there other than hockey at Canterbury, and it's called pole vaulting. And I'd like to share just 2 brief memories with all of you tonight. My first memory is of me boarding one of those blue toaster buses with my 13-foot pole loaded across the floor en route to a Saturday track meet where I joined my Canterbury teammates to compete against Avon Old Farms and Salisbury. Except it wasn't just another track meet. It was an all-boys meet, and I was the only girl sent from Canterbury to help rack up the points in the pole vault. What an amazing opportunity Canterbury afforded me. A female to compete at an all-male school at an all-male track meet. Fast forward 7 years when I first arrived in my assigned village as a Peace Corps volunteer on an island in the West Indies. I was on my first hitchhiking ride in the back of a banana truck on my way to a dilapidated soccer field in the next village over, when I starkly realized how much less opportunity there was for women to play sports on that island, or for that matter, to earn a decent wage, complete secondary school, or avoid unintended pregnancy. Canterbury Athletics set me on a path to address these issues. Just last month, I was in New York for the United Nations General Assembly and was humbled to watch world leaders come together to commit to achieve gender equality by 2030. During the president's remarks, I couldn't help but think of my time as one of the only female pole vaulters in the area during my days at Canterbury, and the impact that opportunity to excel in that sport had on my life. I'm honored to be inducted into this Hall of Fame tonight and credit my athletics and development at Canterbury to my path so far. Thank you all so much for this honor.
We'll be quick. About 20 years ago, my sister Nancy and my mother brought Daddy's uniforms up here. He'd recently passed away. And we had them dry cleaned, and they look okay. Not great. But now Mother would be so pleased, which doesn't even touch how delighted Daddy would be. So thank you all very, very much.
I will just say ditto. My dad would be so pleased and just so impressed with this gorgeous, gorgeous campus. It was the love of his life. I wish he was here.
I would like to thank Douglas and Lindsay, for this wonderful evening and for voting for us. And we did not pack the ballot box. So thank you very much, and my father would be very pleased.
Okay, our second team is the 1966 swim team. The 1966 swim team, coached by Bill Dalton and captained by Pedro Torres, was a fiercely talented group of young men. During the 1966 season, an astonishing 8 new records were set. Ed Wallace set the school record in the 50 and 100-yard freestyle. The 200 free was set by Mike Foley, while the 400 free was broken by Jack Coons. Pedro Torres set the new mark in the 100 butterfly, while Barry McDonald did the same in the 100 backstroke. The 200-yard medley relay team of Fenley, McDonald, Torres, and Wallace set a new mark, while the 400-yard free team of Fenley, Coons, Foley, and Wallace set the record. Among the accomplishments of this uncommonly talented team was a culminating first-place finish in the Connecticut Independent School Swimming Association Championship. Therefore, it is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts the 1966 swim team into our Athletics Hall of Fame. We are delighted that a few members of the team are with us tonight, and it's my pleasure to ask them to come forward at this time. Tom Orfino, Chris Ryan, and Captain Pedro Torres. Pedro Torres is going to say a few remarks on behalf of the team, and he just shared with me that he was on stage and at the head table at the Waldorf Astoria at the 50th anniversary of the school, because he was the head proctor of the school at that time. So I think it's pretty extraordinary that he's here tonight.
I have to put my glasses on, I'm sorry. I used to be known as a very tongue-tied head proctor, so please put up with me a little bit. That was 50 years ago. As many of you are aware, swimming is not normally considered to be a team sport. With the exception of the 2 relays, it is an ensemble of athletes, each competing in individual events. The Canterbury 1966 swimming team was very fortunate to have a large number of gifted and dedicated athletes who between them broke almost every single school record that year. But school records, for those who broke and hold them, become meaningless and ephemeral, since after graduation we all continue with our lives away from Canterbury. But the records, not so the names, all remain within the school as goals to be achieved or broken by the future students. The 1966 swimming team was much more than a group of individual stars for one simple reason. We competed representing Canterbury as a team. Individually, one athlete could not participate in more than a couple of events. And it is in this aspect that those other team members, even though they did not break records, were especially important in their contribution to their success. Those second and third places, those points were absolutely necessary to achieve the team victories we all sought. Lastly, and by far not least, we must credit he who amalgamated this group of young men, our coach, Mr. Bill Dalton. A man of very many qualities, very individualistic. He was able to get the most out of all of us. His motto was, those who were also in track will remember pain is joy, amply stated during training, and achieved the desired results. It was his savvy to have the athlete peak at the desired moment, as well as to choose those who completed in which event that helped us reach the team's desires. And it was above all to be able to repeat as champions of the Connecticut Independent School Swimming Association. If I bring back the memories of that 1966 season, 50 years ago, one stands out above all, and that was of the team joyously celebrating that victory at that championship. Oh, sorry. On behalf of those 22
21 teammates, and Mr. Dalton, we thank you for the privilege of receiving this award.
This is very simple for me. I was a freshman on this team. He was a senior, and there are a lot of guys here like Billy Gilbane and Mr. Constantine and Mr. Haley, who were my idols when I was there, really.
Good job.
Gilbane was a little bit ahead of me, but you were there. And then there were guys like Matt Dwyer, who were 2 years behind me. I always thought he was the best looking guy in Canterbury. But I had a great time, and winning that championship was unbelievable for me. As a freshman, I'm sitting there with guys like him, seniors, who we broke every record that year. And I'm a freshman sitting there, a little kid. He didn't even recognize me.
We're so big.
But what I really liked coming back here was seeing Matt Dwyer, Haley particularly, Constantine, Gilbane, all the great athletes that really worked for us. Thank you.
Nice job. Nice job.
Pedro mentioned that our class of '66 is going to have our 50th anniversary, which is just kind of hard to figure. I'm being slowly rebuilt for that class myself. A lot has changed at Canterbury. You can come to this campus now and see all the new buildings. It's co-ed, thank God. But there are things that don't change. And you touched on one of them, Pedro, and that is a team. People respecting one another. You can't understand those things unless you've lived them. And this school has always been about the camaraderie. You walk in this room this evening, and I see Pedro, whom I haven't seen in quite a few years, and I get a big hug and a hello. Same thing from Bobby and Billy. So it's a wonderful place. I think this has been an absolutely wonderful event. And I just thank everybody for their camaraderie, their hard work in putting this together, and the teamship that I have learned here. It went a long way in my life, a long way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Come on, move.
Oh, we got pictures, the worst. I always said I had a face made for radio.
Good job, Dave.
Congratulations.
Okay, the last induction of the night, last but certainly not least, the first women's team to be inducted, and the first women's team to win any New England championship at Canterbury. It's 1989 girls varsity soccer team. After a respectable 11-5 regular season, the Saints qualified for postseason play. After winning their first two rounds, the team faced Governor Dummer in the New England Small School Championship at Pomfret School. Down 3-0 at the half, the contest seemed over. As snow began to fall, the Dummer girls had hats and mittens on and were laughing and joking on the field. They thought the game was done. The 89 team stormed back and tied the game in regulation. The game went into a shootout, and after goals by Kelly Buckley, 92, Ashley Poston, 91, and Kristen Dunham, 92, the game remained tied and was forced into sudden death. Patricia Sardoni, 92, was a wall in the net, while Megan McDonald, 90, clinched the game for the Saints with her game-winning goal in sudden death, overtime. We're lucky to have so many of the names that I just listed here tonight. It is with great pride that Canterbury School inducts the 1980 girls soccer team into the Athletics Hall of Fame. Many members of this team are with us tonight. First, team captain Kathy Brewer. The parents of Meredith DeSousis, Arlene and Vincent. Nicole Duff DeSantis. Allison Eber Morris. Vanessa Fertali. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with the names. Beth Gaffney Gorton. Kim Moffitt Hare. Karen Lascano Buckley. Erin McLaughlin Rourke. Joan Simonelli. Patricia Sardoni Rasmussen. And the coach of that team, Michael Hennessy. So please, all members that are here, come up, accept, and also I think Kathy Brewer is going to say a few words.
Can we get another round of desserts? This is going to take about an hour. I'm just kidding. Except Doug kind of took the first few minutes of my presentation. But I'm going to go ahead and just launch right in.
Go for it.
All right, I will. It was a dank, freezing cold November afternoon in 1989. Doug, could you give us those 9 years back, please? When the Canterbury varsity girls soccer team faced Governor Dummer Academy on a field in Pomfret, Connecticut. We were down 3-0 at the half. Things weren't looking good. Our beloved coach, Mike Hennessy, I'm sure he shared some words of motivation. I'm not sure exactly what they were. It was like 26 years ago. And, but knowing Coach's calm demeanor, his steady way, I have a feeling they were encouraging. Like, get out there and score some goals. In my opinion, all youth coaches should take a page out of Mike Hennessy's book. Our junior forward ringer, Ashley Poston, came up from the South and could dribble like no one I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of soccer. She went into that second half and punched in 4 goals pretty much on demand, along with Kelly Buckley and Kristen Dunham. And basically we brought that game to a tie. This championship game had become a true nail-biter. A couple of shootouts that kept us in the game, and then our novice sophomore, Patricia Sardoni. Patricia had actually never played goal before that season. And I'm not sure what made Coach Mike decide to choose her as goalie. It might have had something to do with her height, maybe not. The fact that she could touch the top goal post and, not have to move her feet at all, that might have had something to do with it. But at any rate, Patricia Sardoni was fierce in front of the net, stopping shots from our competitors' strongest attackers. By the end of the game, the wind was whipping. There was sleet on our shoelaces, and now we are in sudden death. Whichever team scores first wins the Silver Bowl. My co-captain and comrade, Megan McDonald, who would love to have seen her tonight, but she couldn't make it, she takes that shot, and with pinpoint accuracy, the New England Small School Championship title is ours. Just like that, a simple victory. But like anything worthwhile, it wasn't that simple. What's interesting is that I had to reread the article that my fellow senior teammate, Erin McLaughlin, wrote in the Tabard to remember any of the events of that game. The sequence of events were fuzzy to me, and I'm not sure if that's because I missed one of those penalty shots, so I just tried to, remove it from my brain altogether. But what I do recall is my initial instinct when I got the word that our team, our 1989 team, had been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And what I felt when I heard that news was, what an incredible group of girls, and what a fun season we had. Each and every girl brought something to that team, whether it was amazing footwork, tenacity on defense, or just their spirit for the game. Every player had their role. We had our seniors, Captain Megan McDonald, Kara Ackerman, Allison Eber, Kim Moffitt, who, by the way, Kim traveled from Hawaii with her family to be here tonight. So let's hear a round of applause for that. Karen Listano, she lives about 10 miles down the road, but she came too. Erin McLaughlin, Rebecca Siebold, those were our seniors. For our junior squad, or fifth form I should say, we had Trish Castellini, Nicole Duff, Vanessa Fertali, Beth Gaffney, Ashley Poston, Joan Simonelli, and Hillary Swan. Our sophomore studs were Kelly Buckley, Kristen Dunham, and our goal monster, Patricia Schmo Sordini. Sordoni. And the only freshman to make the varsity team, Meredith DeChuchis. Not only was Meredith an extremely skilled soccer player, she was a bright light on our team. She always had a smile. She was kind, generous, and loyal. It is a pleasure to see her parents here tonight to represent her. Arlene and Vincent have driven up from Richmond, Virginia area, and we're so happy you're here. Meredith embodied the essence of what this team was: strength, perseverance, and sportsmanship, a theme we've heard all night tonight. The strength was not just that we were physically strong, but that we all embraced each other's strengths. Instead of worrying about our weaknesses, there was a tangible camaraderie. There were grueling workouts, but there was also a lot of laughter. The perseverance was that as a team, we never gave up. We just did it, a year after Nike coined the phrase. Sportsmanship was as obvious then as it is tonight. This is one very, very classy group of women, and I couldn't be more proud to be associated with all of you, as well as the members of our team that weren't able to come tonight. And thank you to Canterbury for recognizing us. It's a great honor for all of us, and we're all very, very proud. So thank you and have a great night.
It was dank and dark.
Thank you, Doug. That is awesome.
What's our name?
Yeah, your name's on the back.
I'll take Alex for now. Don't worry. Poor Aaron, just see her.
He wants to shoot a photo in a different home.
Great. Yeah, yeah.
That's good. Before we close this evening's event, I guess first and foremost, I want to thank all and congratulate all those who received recognition and induction this evening. I also want to thank the families who have joined them and supported them, and a special thanks and to recognize, I'd like to recognize Kim Tester, who's chair of our art department, and Lou Mandler, who have helped put together these exhibits of your many accomplishments. It was a real labor of love, but I think it enhances this evening and what we tried to do. I also want to point out a few other people that were recognized by you this evening, and that is the dining staff. We think, wow, what a great meal tonight, but they've been on call and feeding probably 1,000 of us over the last 3 days with Parents' Weekend, starting Friday at noon and going on through tonight. And I want a special thanks and recognition to Shannon Green and Pamela Brack, and we have a little just thank you for you. And their entire staff who've done a great job. Certainly, I want a special thanks to Doug and Lindsay for really engineering and bringing this all to fruition this evening. They've done a super job. But a special thanks to Jen LaPrenza, who really was the mastermind behind all of this, organized it, choreographed it, and really step by step made sure it'd be a success for all of us. So Jen, thank you very much. I also want to thank the members of the Hall of Fame committee. Missy Babington, Missy's here tonight. She's our head trainer, and of course Doug, Brian Kiefer, former Director of Advancement, and Patty McCarthy, our Associate Athletic Director. All this would not be possible without them. And of course this evening would not even be worth it if it were not for all of you. So thanks so much. The inaugural inductees, and I'm sure in the years to come there'll be many to follow. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful and safe home.